Hey everyone, I'm John with Roadkill Incorporated. Just a quick video, but something really important. Most people use the word recycle wrong. Too many people think it means to reuse something, which is actually called reuse. But recycling and reuse are just not the same thing. To put it bluntly, recycling is destruction. Recycling is the breaking down of an item into component materials like metal, plastic, screen, circuit board, battery. Those then, ideally, get refined and turned into raw materials that are used to produce new products. But recycling is not, for example, a computer simply going to a new owner and getting reused. That is reuse. Also, recycling is not the product getting repaired and tested and resold. That is refurbishing. Yes, I get that you can take the word recycle super literally, like recycle, put the thing through another cycle of life. But no, just know that's not what the word means. And yeah, I get it that some people want to have their own unique definition of the word. I've heard 100 people say something like, well, I like to think of the word recycling as fill in the blank. Or, I like to think there are different kinds of recycling, and reuse is just one aspect of recycling, or one way to recycle. But again, no, we don't get to redefine words the way we want, to match an idea we have in our heads, or to think of them in ways that make us feel good. We just don't. The reason we all have to comply with the definition is that it allows us to communicate what the hell we're talking about, very precisely. It's critical to be absolutely specific in our speech and in our word usage so that we know what we mean when we're talking to one another. Why is this important in the case of the word recycle? For one, because, as I've already mentioned, the word recycle means destruction. It means the item in question, the computer, the TV, the plastic bottle, is going to be given up on in its current form and destroyed. It's not going to be reused. It's instead, in theory, going to be torn apart and turned into raw materials. This matters because reuse is better than recycling, infinitely better. The item already exists. You don't have to make it again. The resources involved don't have to be mined out of the ground. Plus, when an item is recycled, a huge percentage of the material is lost in the process. It's not some magic transformation where you drop an item into the recycling bin and a brand new one falls out of the sky into your hand. So while recycling is better than putting it in the landfill, it doesn't hold a candle to reusing that thing again. It's important to understand the words involved because knowing what happens here and being able to describe and think about it accurately is actually important. You don't want things that can be reused to be recycled, right? But if you think recycling is reuse, you're going to be fooled by others who have agendas, and you're going to accidentally make destructive decisions that aren't in line with your intentions. The words are important to know because recycling-related entities and quote-unquote green initiatives and organizations frankly often exploit confusion, knowing full well that most of the ignorant public will assume that recycling is reuse. They're happy to state, we recycle everything and let you exist in your fantasy land. But if you know what the words mean, maybe you'll think twice. Maybe you'll make better choices. This deception I describe is a bad problem. Much of Europe has dumped its electronics to recyclers for years, expecting it's reused when it's actually just destroyed. And the European general public has no idea its discarded electronics were being shredded. To make matters worse, recycling, though it's better than a landfill, is often not what you expect. You put your plastic in the recycling bin, right? With the recycling symbol on it, and it's got that nice green or blue color, assuring you it's going to be magically turned into new products. But actually, most plastic gets incinerated instead. That's right, it gets burned or landfilled regardless. Why? Because it costs money to actually recycle stuff. A lot of money. And you're not going to pay for that, are you? No? Well, chances are your city and your state and your country aren't willing to pay for that either. Some cities or counties subsidize the recycling of plastics, but most don't. Sorry to say it, but your good friend, the recycling bin, is lying to you. But hey, fun fact, in the US, something like 85% of plastic goes to the landfill, 10% is incinerated, and 5% is recycled. Is that in line with the nice green recycling picture you have in your head? And something like 60% of e-waste in the US is landfilled or incinerated, 30 to 40% is recycled, and it's hard to even find numbers on how much is reused. All the percentages vary wildly depending on where you look. The data is not reliable, probably because many entities involved don't report it or don't even collect their own data. There's just no reliable audit trail for stuff we throw out. And it's really not surprising. When you give a computer to a recycler, it might get recycled, it might get reused, or an employee might sneak it out to their car and take it home. Because what we throw away is never fully accounted for, the most valuable items tend to magically disappear, which skews the numbers. Maybe it's human nature, I don't know, but we just don't look in the rearview mirror when it comes to throwing stuff out. We have no idea what actually happens to it. We don't want to know, frankly. And there are massive industries that are happy to greenwash us, to seduce us into feeling good, industries happy to mislead us into believing much nicer things are going on than actually are. If we aren't precise in our speech, if we aren't even aware of the actual definitions of the words involved, that opens us up to being deceived by these forces. But if we know the words, we can have an effective conversation at least. We can learn about the industries and elevate our thinking and call out the greenwashing. We can spot the deceptions. The world of what we throw away is a mysterious universe that 99% of us have not even begun to comprehend. And that understanding, that education can only start if we know the words. So remember, reuse it if you can, recycle if you must, but at the very, very least, know what these words mean. Thanks for watching.